it was an opportunity for them to showcase the city, and the city, I'm sure, loved the opportunity to showcase itself and what we have to offer. It's a beautiful city. Got some beautiful facilities and Nexus Center, baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that Nexus Center? Let's talk about that again for a second. I'm sure everybody's already heard enough about it, but wow, is that Nexus Center something?
It is state of the art in regards to hopefully our economy stays strong and people are able to do the outside stuff in regards to tournaments, because the amount of kids that I've seen there the last 2 weeks, it's once again WOW. It's incredible what the Nexus Center has brought to bring people from all over the Northeast. From I believe they've had a couple Colorado teams already fly in and participate. It's a quite a impressive state of the art facility.
Yeah, it's definitely a state of the art facility. And how about it's just so cool. I love walking in there. And I mean, this week when we walked in, you had a like midgets high school age junior style game going on in the big rink, which was just phenomenal competition. Those kids were doing awesome out there, but you had that going on. And then right next to it, you had the pros out there on the turf playing. And then next to that, you had like 8, 9 year olds having their own little tournament. It's just wicked. It's wicked amazing, and you got to see. There was actually quite a few family members and stuff at the odd to watch the scrimmage. It was a pretty good showing of support from the families. I'll say that they had a lot of cheering.
Yeah.
Syracuse is a lot closer than Binghamton, so might have been a little one-sided with their fans, but
It really, well, the fans clearly were impressed with the talent they were seeing, no question. I know it was up and down and WOW. Wow.
yeah, I mean, I don't even know what else to say. It's been crazy. Sully's
I'd love to be able to talk about the guys that are Yeti guys that are trying out. It was heartwarming to see our boys have that opportunity, and I'm hoping every one of them strikes gold and catches that dream with their dream catcher and lives that dream, because it's pretty cool to see it. Not to say as a to watch a couple of these kids grow up, go through Tri-City, and all of a sudden they're standing on the floor with the pros. It's pretty cool.
yeah, to see him out there with some of the pros. I mean, some of the names on that Syracuse team are just yeah. I don't want to say anything yet because they haven't finalized any rosters. So I mean, there's a few guys I think everybody knows who's going to be on the team. Sully's out there. Sully, we would have had you on this week, but this was
No
last
way.
minute. We didn't even think we were going to have it because my daughter's got a concert, but we were like, hey, we'll do it quick at 4 o'clock. So next week you can expect Shannon Sullivan. I'm hoping to be on the Yeti Nation stream when we talk about the PBLA. Um,
We'll
yeah,
have a little more information, that's for sure. This weekend's going to be huge for them. They're down in Elmira, and I'm just speaking of Binghamton and Syracuse. They're down in Elmira doing it down there, and
three
it's
three-way round robin is the way I understand it, man. Do I wish we could get an invite down to that?
oh,
Anybody feels like inviting us, we could probably make a drive.
I would sacrifice my going to Buffalo and partaking in shenanigans in the Buffalo Bills Mafia. Go Bills! As far as but if we got a request, I would definitely jump down there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean
No question.
after watching that scrimmage last week and then to see another team that we haven't gotten to see yet, and I'm excited to see the way
Greg? Who they bringing in? Is it Trenton?
no, if they're in Elmira.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so but the way these teams are being coached and their strategies going into it. I mean, we had two teams there and it was two completely different styles. And I really wish we could talk about it because the differences they're going in, I cannot wait to see how it actually plays out in a game. Because
Yeah.
like the adjustments made at halftime and like it was wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh yeah, shout out to Bag
We
Square.
yeah. I had to get the bag square in there. I'm sitting there going, why can't I get that in there? I'm like, let's tilt it down a little bit. But shout out to my bag square peeps. thank you very much for everything they do. Get down there. I did see they posted there's a 50% off a tire. If you get down to Bag Square, check out their attire. They got some pretty cool swag down there. So it's 50% off right now for Christmas. They got a Friday night market area, and we're gonna give them a shout out because they've been great. But get down there, have a beer, a great cheeseburger, Bag Square downtown. Thank you, Bag Square. Now go back to PBLA. Sorry.
Well,
about
in
that.
case anybody doesn't know, after the Yeti games, that is where we do our after parties when they're there, and then if we're in Rome, we go over to the Rome Ale House.
The Black River Ale House is a beautiful facility. Yeah, but there's nothing like authentic German flavor food and authentic German flavored beer. That's the one thing they want to be known as. It's authentic German. Slow down a little bit, everybody. We're used to American festivities where everything's bang, 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 bang. Sometimes, if it's busy and it's crazy, we're coming out of a pandemic, you may have to wait a couple extra minutes. So enjoy the company that you're with and talk. Don't get on the internet, talk to people. Enjoy your beer. Hey!
There you go. All right. So PBLA, Sully got to talk to a Sparkle Muffin, and they're totally psyched about the PBLA. I do wish they kept them the Sparkle Muffins instead of the Spark. Especially when you see what the Sparkle Muffin spider is, you're like, oh, that is nasty.
They were saying it's over in Australia. It's an Australian spider.
Yeah. Now, what in your mind was most impressive or maybe most surprising about the PBLA scrimmage?
The speed up and down. We can't say enough. The transition is going to be, not that and I'm not knocking the NLL, it's just a different transition. You're forced into being able to play up and down the court.
Well, and to see the way they use that rule set, to see the two different styles, and
both coming out of the bench, if you're on the front end of the bench or if you're on the back, and now it's that 15 feet, whatever it is, 20 feet, however you mark it off. That's a big difference. It makes a huge difference coming off the backside instead of the front side when you're getting on defense, or vice versa.
That's where I think you're going to see the biggest thing, because as a somebody who's on defense and you're playing in the zone, as soon as you start to realize, like, you've got certain guys, if you see that guy going into the corner, and both those teams have that guys with that confidence that if this guy's going in, he's going to get the ball, they can start to make a break. They can't sub. So somebody who's playing offense is going to have to pay attention to that.
Get on the hub.
But even crazier, and I talked to Joe French about this, is he was saying, like, the other odd man opportunities you're going to get, like, we like to think of odd man, Mountain Dew, of course. We like to think of odd man opportunities as like a fast break scenario where you're talking like a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2. Whereas, like he's saying, because of the way the bench rotates, as guys are coming back, if you have a guy on your team who has the cardio to be able to stay out there for a full 60 seconds instead of a normal, like, 30-second shift, that's going to be a huge advantage. And you could really end up seeing some crazy moves going that way. I mean, going through the whole, and you're going to end up with a lot of, like, 5-on-4s for a couple of minutes. It's going to be fast either way. I mean, watching the talent out there like you saw was insane.
I thought that, hats off to them. I kind of like the new rules. I've talked to a couple people that are like, I don't know. And it's like, if you don't try it, you don't know. And to bring it back to where, it's the fastest game on 2 feet, and people you haven't seen, everybody's still says that the NLL is the best, and I ain't knocking them. Those guys are awesome as well. They're that's why they are where they are, is because the way they can play. But to now be not a offensive player, defensive player, you want to know what? You got to be able to get up and back. And
you're a lacrosse player.
Ground balls, be able to throw behind the back in there every once in a while, because you want to know what? Your boy's wide open, and they can. That's the difference. You want to know what? The talent is there. Whether it's the Utica Yeti guys or the Eels guys, or I'm going to plug the NABLL as well, because you want to know what? There's talent in that league. Darn it, right in front of us. I'm honored as honored can be, Greg, that you guys did that. It tears in my eyes when you hand me those trophies. I couldn't be more honored and proud to be number one, but holding it, knowing that somebody that I coached 20 some years ago is now back in the circle, and all of a sudden we got stuff rocking. And to be a part of that, and for you to see these kids and not for nothing, you played with one of them. Sikosi plays in the NABLL. 20 years later, circle.
And he's still flying out there. And what really
and
impressed me is I laugh. So, like, I still haven't had a chance to talk to Dave on the podcast that I do there. And I need to, because forever I always told my nephew, I was like, if you want to be a good player, he wanted to be an attackman. I was like, I play defense, I could stop you. I can only tell you what I saw Dave do. I was like, that worked. The way he was playing 20 years ago kind of was an eye-opening experience. Like, he was the first lacrosse player that I saw that had that different level with his stick like that. The stick's an extension of his body. It's not a tool. It's really part of his body.
Part of his body, and that's an opportunity that he's had over the course of probably the last maybe 10 years or maybe a little bit more of being able to be coached by a guy like Neil Paulus, playing throughout the club level circuit and everything, and and other guys. But he is a very proud to say that Neil taught him how to play box lacrosse, and he did a damn good job doing it. That's for sure.
Well, that's one thing that we really should mention is the Binghamton coach. We are probably a little biased, I'll say. I'll admit I am. Binghamton coach happens to be a Utica Yeti. And one thing that I didn't get to see the first year, to see all the other guys that were part of the team too, like Rodney Red Eye, and you had some other guys that Casey Swamp that aren't there anymore. And I've actually just gotten to meet at some of these camps. But the the way they took some of your young field players and progressed them so fast, and there's nothing like doing. That's the best way to learn. That's what I tell my son all the time is doing, and just getting all that box lacrosse experience. Huge thank you to all those guys. There's so many guys, but just the guys on your team that have been able to coach. You really put together a good team. And now we're seeing a bunch of guys in the PBLA combines, and everybody I've heard from said camp was fast. That's like the first response I get when I text one of these guys is, "How was camp?" Wow, they're like, "It's fast." It's yeah.
That's why I'm still waiting to hear back from Patty Crosby. He's out there down in Jersey with the Terror, and it's his style. He flies across himself. The kick saves, the splits. I'm excited to see what he's got to say in regards to the breaks and from a goalie standpoint. Colby was there as well. I'll tell you one thing. Colby's lost about probably, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 pounds. And you want to know what? You've seen Colby make some moves and some saves this past weekend where I was like, that was a great save, Colby. I mean, straight up, I don't care what anybody says. Goals are going to get scored no matter what, especially in this league, for the fact that the transition.
So many,
if you're not
odd man rushes.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I mean, it's just there's so many odd man rushes. It is insane how fast, and you have to be crisp with the pass. Like a missed pass in this league, you think about it, that ball starts going. A lot of times on an over and back, you can kind of just run to the bench, and you're pretty close to the midline, so you can you got your offense or your defense there. And this making the guys go through the one door. That is going to be a huge adjustment for some of these players too, with it being a new rule. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of fast breaks. And how about the emotion of the guys trying to make these camps?
There's boys, they're living their dream. That's the coolest thing. I don't know. I'm watching Billy O'Brien, and I'll leave it at that.
Getting to see Tommy Palasek. I mean, getting to meet some of these guys. But how about some of them young kids playing for Syracuse? That was a mind-opening. Like when I saw him take his helmet off, and I was like, oh, all right.
I'll tell you one thing. The one kid, he looked like Peter Leota. Peter with the flow coming out the backside. They were the same stature and everything. And if you didn't know and you put them side by side, they were, very similar in style. And I'm like, is that Leota out there? But it wasn't Leota. And I don't I'm horrible with names to begin with, so I won't even fathom what the poor kids or not poor kid.
That is that
He
is
was
one
awesome.
nice well, that's one thing the PBLA probably didn't know is at least you wouldn't be able to blab your mouth about who was at these camps because you don't remember anybody's name. So that was a huge
Well,
advantage.
the hardest part is I've been biting my tongue. I'm sitting here talking to my guys, and you want to know what? Props to them. They're holding their lines. They're not saying nothing. They're saying just wow. It's a great camp. The PBLA has done props to them through what I've heard as far as accommodations.
Yeah.
Coaches doing their coaching. Getting them ready. Trainers from all over the country flying in. I think Rob was from Vegas. He said.
Yeah. Yeah, there's guys from all over the place playing. And
Yeah.
that's one advantage that the Yeti guys have is like a lot of these guys don't when you play in these men's leagues, I mean obviously if you play in Can-Am that's different too, but when you're playing in some of these men's leagues you don't have coaches. So just having that perspective of being used to just going out and following a scheme and having somebody draw up a new scheme every time and everybody's not just going out there and playing their own style, like getting to play as a team. I think that's been huge. And then that Binghamton team's got a few guys. We're going to see who holds on to the end. That's the other thing is cuts have to be down to 25 this weekend, I believe, after the weekend.
Yeah. They're getting after that. It's Christmas. They're getting what a Christmas weekend off, and then
Bing.
that following weekend they're on.
They're playing the 29th is the first game.
Yeah.
It's going to be on Lacrosse TV. So that'll be cool. Make sure everybody checks that out. Let me pull up the PBLA website so we can look at what we've seen there. The news, you've got Kevin Sylvester hosting the podcast there. Last one was December 8th. I think he's going to have another one this week. But yeah, the main thing I picked up from the website though is, cuts got to be made. Teams got to be down to size. Games are coming up fast. When I started to look at that schedule, it was like, oh, we're only 2 weeks away from the first game. You need to have a plan in place because most of these guys don't live local, and it's not as great as the team has been, and they're making sure they fly everybody. The league's been amazing. Everybody has said it's so cool to like have somebody buy you a plane ticket, and then you just walk into a hotel and you're just like, hey, this is my name, and just to be treated like that, that's so awesome from the
Well,
something the
on
league
that
has
note,
done.
on
And
that note, that's the pro. That's the difference between you know the
summer
everybody's going to
ball and
see once
professional.
once those rosters are released, everybody's going to see. There's and I believe they're only allowed 3 Canadians per roster. Is that something that I shouldn't say?
I don't know if that's a rule or not. I have not seen it anywhere, so I wouldn't want
Right.
to say it. But I have noticed
Right.
one thing I've noticed with a lot of these teams, though, is you actually have quite a few, especially depending on which team you're talking about. Some of these teams have a lot of field players that I think are really counting on that speed that you see in the field
Well, it's
game.
the transition. It's the transit.
Your middies.
But on the same note, is we sit there and say that want to know what? I watched some big boys get up and down the field, 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 and
How
as
about
far as
how about the way those goalies can pass? I mean to see they're putting
oh,
laser
I like
passes.
the fact, my personal opinion, get rid of the wall, and when we're getting into league play and everything, I'm hoping the NABLL takes that into consideration as well. I want the wall away. You want to play in a tournament and use the wall, by all means, I got no problems. It makes a huge difference
If you're
with the 5 hole with your outlet passing. You can't outlet pass. You got a 60-pound Woody that you're sitting there holding as a goalie, trying to pick that darn thing up. And there's guys, don't get me wrong, they can huck the ball with them things, but I just it takes away the
well,
5 hole.
let's
I don't like it. I
let's
don't like the big Woody for tournament for league play. I love it for tournament play because you want to know what, it adds an element of
I,
get by the big man.
I don't know. I
Open them
mean,
up side to side.
I'm more of a what everybody wants to see is goals. They want to see
Yeah,
goals, they want to see hits, they want to see fights. And having that smaller stick after watching the way those guys can really like, they're all ripping the ball. To see everybody who can pass with a goalie stick like that, I mean, yeah, 200 feet, just like
it's
lasering it down in through traffic, over guys, under guys, bounce passes. Yeah, and the speed of the goalies, the athleticism that these goalies are expected to play with. I mean, they're coming out of the net setting picks. It's
good
it's a
stuff.
yeah, it's a very fast pace, and especially the way those camps are right now. Everybody's trying to make a team. I can't wait until the season starts because then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to pull some of those highlights out from the scrimmage, and they're going to get posted all over the place because there is some amazing clips that need
Yeah.
to be shown to the public. I'm just glad we got to.
That one collision coming off the bench and the sidestep, and I was just like, oh, that was
I mean,
awesome. There was some
collisions.
great. Oh,
Collisions guys are fighting some of these goals. The way these
yes.
guys are scoring, oh my goodness, you can't expect
I
anybody
personally,
to save
you got
that.
to do me a favor. My Christmas present, I want you, if you can, to just secretly send me, if you can, find the special sauce, whatever, and send it to me. I want to see the Billy and Devontae Adams. I want to see the
Devontae Adams. What do we know Devontae Adams' real name?
I don't. That's why and I apologize.
He's number 17 for the Eels, and
For the Eels.
he's a great player.
He's
He's
an incredible player.
playing on
Incredible
Binghamton,
player.
incredibly athletic. Yeah, he's up and down the floor.
And it's no disrespect, and my
But we
hat is
all
off him. He's a great player. Try out for the Yeti. I would, please. I would love to try out for the Yeti as far as that goes. But anyhow, as far as I want that video. If you can, just because when he got it, you don't understand. Listen to this stuff inside the freaking penalty box. I wish I had it on the recorder because the stuff I was listening to was priceless. Priceless. Just some of the stuff.
I could imagine. And you're watching though. I mean, so one thing I talked about with one of the players, I don't think it's been emphasized. The league minimum is $500.
Right.
You're not talking chump change if you make one of these teams. So to watch some of these guys, and some of these guys, this is their first pro camp ever. They are laying it on the line. I think any of these hometown
They're
fans.
not getting the nickel. This is all on them right now. They're not getting the nickel until that contract's signed. So everything they're laying on the line as far as pure, true passion, love, and glory for the game, man. That's the cool thing.
It's
to watch these guys live their dreams. Many of them, Utica Yeti. I'm thrilled to have just been down on field level to see what was going on. It was great.
Yeah, to really, like you said, to be a part of it was pretty
Yeah.
amazing. To see these guys though, like, and the one thing I was talking that they actually have a fitness guy who goes around to each team. I don't know if he really wanted his name out there yet or not, so
Okay,
I'm going to talk to him after, and he didn't want to talk to me until he talked to everybody through the league.
Yep,
But
gotcha.
to watch what the league is doing to make sure these guys have plans that didn't have plans, and to really make sure these guys are stretching beforehand and making sure everybody is ready for play has been just to have that. People don't realize how, like, when you're an athlete and you're playing at this level, you're going to get dinged up. You need somebody around to kind of help you out a little bit, and to have like the sports guys there and the medicine guys there is really a huge thing. And these small market teams that they went with are going to really see like one of the purest sports ever, because these guys, even though it is a decent amount of money, you're still not playing to feed your to completely feed your family. You need a full-time job, or you need to work somewhere else. So you're really seeing one of the purest sports available as pros. I mean, the NLL is that way too. Most of the guys are not pros, which is unfortunate. But I mean, these guys are really out there just because they love the game, and it's spiritual for a lot of them. And it's crazy to see that out there on the floor. Just the talent level is insane. I don't know. Good luck to the camera people, whoever they end up may be in, because wow, keeping up with that. I think you're gonna have a wide angle lens just to catch all the action. You might need a GoPro out there, and it'll be like our game at Rome where we just kind of streamed it with the GoPro. I don't know.
And we really haven't even remotely tipped the offensive sets. We're just talking up and down, up and down. These guys haven't had an opportunity to really install any type of set plays. So now you're going to install this action off of action. Now we got to set up, and you want to know what? I'm intrigued to see what Ron does with Syracuse. They got incredible time. What Neil does with the Bombers, and what all these other coaches do. I've been fortunate enough now to be around Ron He coached the Eels last year, so being around him and watching how they can set up their offenses, and now watch him and Kenny and their coaching. It's pretty darn cool. And then to see what Neil's putting in,
But
it's pretty cool.
but
It's pretty.
let's
I can't say it. That's one of the joys of honestly becoming a box enthusiast. I was with field lacrosse for 35 years, coaching field lacrosse, and you know what? Not that it got stale and got old. It's not stale. I love field lacrosse to the day. Put me in my grave with my stick concept.
I don't even watch it
But
anymore.
to see all of a sudden a whole different perspective of lacrosse is pretty. It's rejuvenating, is what it's been. It's stoked me up again.
It's got us sitting here talking about them, driving out
Yeah,
there to film a scrimmage. I mean, it sounds crazy when you say it out loud. Thankfully, my wife's awesome and kind of tolerates all of as well as Mrs. Necker. They tolerate our shenanigans pretty well.
God
Maybe
bless them. They are beautiful women, and the Lord blessed us, the Creator,
now
whoever anybody believes in. We got blessed, that's for sure.
now who have you talked to guys from any other teams besides Binghamton? Have you heard
No,
from
I,
uh
I I've reached out to my boys. I'm not going to reveal anything because I don't know in regards to players with
with
cuts or
who's
anything like
okay?
that. Just because but some were extremely excited, and some not so much. But it is what it is, and you want to know what the opportunity is there to learn from, and take that into the off season and make it burn. As far as I know, not to say there's going to be turnaround, but I got to find out. I got a email into the league. We got to find out who's eligible, how many are eligible coming out of this, because at this point, I think we have 9 Yeti that are trying out for teams. And, if we're only allowed 3 professional players, well, that's going to make some hard decisions and some turnover. Not
I
that I want that. I don't want
I
that because
don't
we got an awesome, beautiful team, but
I
it
don't
also is kind of cool.
I don't foresee that because if they do that, they're going to lose so much talent. You're going to see a lot of these teams kind of
Greg, here's the next question, though, Greg, is what you got to think about. This league goes into April, the end of April. So that means these guys are going to be balling hardcore, you know, nonstop till April. Are they going to need body recovery time?
yeah.
And we're talking, you watched it.
Oh yeah.
Come on now. You run like that for 4 months. Guess what? I'm shutting down, at least for a month and a half. And now you're already into, the beginning of July.
Yeah.
Do
It's
I want to, is the team going to pick me up, or did I take a roster spot or whatever? It, Once again, we got to get some answers, get some answers. And we also, we got to get the word out there because there's a lot of guys that graduated college this past year. You want to what? Get yourselves together, get down to the Nexus Center, start learning the box game, and try out for the Yeti, try out for the Spirit, try out for
for the
the
Eels.
Riverhawks,
Try
try
out
out for
for
the
all of
Eagles,
them.
try out for. Hey, you want to know what's cool though? And I'm hoping all goes well with Justin and everything. I'm hoping they can up their help. I guess we'll say to give
Oh,
them some help to
Collar
make
City?
Keller City. We got Paxton is down there, and he's a Rome kid. I coached that kid since he was a little guy, and a little guy he was always the big guy, Paxton Travis, and I wanted him to try out for the Yeti, and he's like, Coach, there's this team down here, and I'm like, you're right. You're right. I
It's a lot
get you.
closer.
You want to get rid of the travel. If you don't have to travel when there's something right next to you, a lot of hard decisions are going to be coming up, and it's going to be a very awesome off season because it's already brewing, it's already cooking. We got Battle on the Barge talk already going on. Excited about that. I'll leave it at that. So that's a cool. A lot of big things with that. Excuse me, but
Yeah, definitely looking forward to Battle on the Barge, that's for sure. I actually had a chance to talk. So there's a couple guys from that Collar City team that are at some camps as well. A couple of them out in Elmira. I had a chance to Talked to one of them. Probably not going to get his podcast out there before we find out if he made the team or not. So I'm not going to say anything. But I tell you, that College City team, and I said the same thing to him. I was like, they got so much talent. It's just the biggest thing with them is there's so many. Like they're more. We're gonna show up, make it. They also had a wedding,
Yeah,
kids, a lot of
well,
weird stuff this year.
you got to take that in. The same thing with the Riverhawks. Riverhawks had the
A lot
same
of
thing.
young
You
kids. They had to.
you go with the young team. That shit happens. You want to know what? It's called learning curves.
Well,
So I'm sure we've already made some. I don't know if it's official yet, but I know the championship game, I believe, has been moved down into a time frame where it should not affect the high school college players in regards to before they go back. I
high
don't know.
school.
I haven't heard anything
No, I'm
official yet.
saying high school players. Is there high school kids that are playing in the NABLO?
Oh yeah,
I would, but
Oswego had high school. They were seniors at
yeah,
18 and over.
yeah.
As long as you're 18 years old and you have
It's
the opportunity, they had some awesome talented kid. The
yeah.
Hardy kid was probably I would say, if not, I won't say first team because I'm
I
biased, but he was definitely a second team candidate for the league, no question.
I'm
No
wondering how
question.
many of those guys. Have you heard anything from any of those guys? Because they are getting a little older. Did any of them get a tryout? Because I know there's a few wheels there. I've seen some Yeti. I know College City's got some guys. What was it? Westminster Wild's got some guys. The Golden Bears, they got some guys.
That was a great
Maine,
interview with Lloyd. I like that.
he's an
He's a good
awesome.
cat. He's a good cat.
I absolutely
He's,
love that guy. It was so
he's
much
a
fun
good cat.
talking to him. Him and
Was he one of
Conzo.
the? Did he win a crawler? Was he one of the recipients?
Oh, I don't know. He's the one that Leota broke his stick over him in the game, and he came over and signed the kid's stick because Leota gave the sticks out to the kids in the stands there, and he came over and they were signing the stick. He's like, "Yeah, that got broke over my arm." But what was funny is those kids were from Virginia, and now he's
Oh,
down playing. He ended up getting drafted by. Yeah, it's amazing, and for him, get to talk to guys like that are my favorite. Guys like him, guys like Conzola that have never had a chance and are just breaking through now. And it's
yeah.
so awesome to see those guys because that's really what this league is going to be. Is you got a lot of young guys who are hungry, who want that spot bad, and are going to
That
go.
opportunity.
The
That
other,
opportunity, man. That
there,
opportunity to shine. He's putting in the travel. He's putting in the hours.
yeah,
He's collecting rubber.
I
You
think
know,
he's four and a
what
half
what the
hours.
Golden Bears are doing. That's all. That was a great interview. Yeah, I hope people watch these interviews because you want to know the content that you're getting out of people is pretty priceless, in my opinion. I'm sitting there. Definitely, you want a little history. Again, watch the Neapolis, the second edition. The first edition was just as awesome, but the second edition was wow.
Yeah,
And again, just meeting some of these guys and listening to what you got going on there, it's pretty cool. Today I got 3 podcasts done. I had the earpods in and I'm jamming all day long. I listened to you, Kiefer, Rasachi, and Lloyd all day today. I was like, this is pretty cool. I don't know, I normally don't have headphones and stuff, but my particular job today allowed me to jam out to listening to the podcast.
well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I love meeting all these guys. Like getting to talk with everybody on there. That's honestly like of all the stuff we've started doing. That's probably one of my favorite. Is you get to meet these guys after you see them out there and like hear what they do outside of lacrosse, and it's just that much more impressive that
Yeah.
that they somehow keep themselves in that kind of shape. And that's the
How
thing.
about Average Joe? How about that kid, Average Joe? You want to know what Average Joe's out there busting his ass, and you want to know he's reaching for dreams. That's cool stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I actually just got a message from somebody asking if I ever needed somebody. So yes, all players, feel free to reach out. They won't get edited quite as much because I don't have the guys' highlights. Like some of the Eels guys, I'll have highlights from their games. Any of the Riverhawks guys, but I have all your highlights. Or if anybody played at Laxni, I have a ton of your highlights. Reach out. I will send you your highlights or organize them because it's if they were a goal, I've got every goal from Laxni saved in a 10-second clip. All the replays. So that's the cool thing
The
about
inside, on the inside, on the inside,
yeah, the
inside
inside.
game,
Sorry about
on
that.
the
The inside
inside
rink.
game.
I forgot about
Yeah,
that. Little
yeah.
miscommunication there on the outside rink, but next year there won't be an outside rink.
Won't be at the well. You never know. Maybe
They
they
might.
go. Maybe they go 5 rinks. Who knows?
Yeah.
Sky's the limit with what's going on there, man. It's great stuff. It's great stuff.
Yeah. So I've gotten to talk to a couple guys that are up at the Chowderheads as well, and they were still at the 35 mark. I know most of the teams are. I know a couple teams I've talked to are down to like the 30-ish mark, which still gives them, they still got some room. And the other problem is you've got guys that are on practice squads for NLL teams, and they have to make the decision: do I want to go there and be a star, or do I want to, kind of be a practice squad guy hoping to get a chance to prove myself? Because that's what you're really looking for, is the guys who want to prove themselves out there, because we've got, oh my god, the talent. And not that these guys need to prove anything, just watching them, and some of these guys have incredible accomplishments already. But
Yeah,
that's what you're going to see out there, I think, though, is guys that want to prove themselves in the just watching the camps. I mean, I I probably, what did we end up with, 15 goals, something like that, with incredible goalie play. Some of those
you know,
saves.
both it was a little more lopsided on one scrimmage compared to the other.
But that's what I mean.
That's
Like, what about adjustments? Like teams
yeah,
making adjustments, and that's one thing that I think. Like when you talked about all the not having preset plays, I'll give you. You were running the shot clock and the scoreboard. There was definitely some preset plays out there, but mainly I
right.
think Ron has, and where you see it is he's coaches the Onondaga Redhawks, I believe. So he
Yep.
knows a lot of these guys and coaches them in
Oh yeah.
senior. And that's the
Well,
other thing is you're starting to see too, is like with Neil having some of those Yetis, so you knew guys that like new plays, and you see certain players out there and the way they work together and stuff, and to see, yeah, like you said, they might not even quite been set plays, just guys with the time playing together, but there was a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts up there in that, and the way the odd man advantage, having that shift change like that, oh my goodness, because even if you don't change, if you're exhausted because you just sprinted up or had to go play defense, and now all of a sudden the ball gets missed and now you're back on defense, and you have to choose. Am I that
yeah.
exhausted? And if you are, we're gonna have some offense, because I promise you, there's kids in that league that can run marathons.
Oh
There's
yeah.
there's men in that league that they played the entire scrimmage and it barely looked like they were sweating. They were
Yeah.
freaking, and obviously they were, but it was just the they did not seem to run out of steam at all. I mean, you talk about, and the practice jerseys. Oh my goodness, them Spark practice jerseys. I love that. The
That was a show. The Bombers logo is pretty darn cool too.
I love the Bombers logo.
Props. I hope they everything is successful. I mean,
Have you
it's
have you gotten to check out like who's coaching any of these other teams or some of the players? I got to talk to a guy from the Bootleggers the other day too. His podcast just came out today, Joe French. He an MLL star, I mean Virginia star. Wow, I love, that's what I mean, is I love talking to these guys because I get to learn all this stuff, and like then I start going through and we research guys a little bit, and then we see it. And I should do it the other way where I research them before, but I really don't like that. I like to actually hear
well, that's not the fun of it.
hear
That's
whatever
the
they want to
whole thing.
tell me. Tell me the cool
Average
parts.
Joe. Well, not for nothing. Average Joe. BSP baby.
Yeah, I'm an average Joe, but these guys to be able to play at these athletic feats, even anybody who's still on these 35-man rosters right now, you have to be, you're in the top level of lacrosse players. You're either
That's
a
it.
very top tier athlete, or you have such good lacrosse skills and such good lacrosse IQ that maybe you can get away with just being a decent athlete. There's plenty of guys we've seen through pro sports, plenty of guys playing the NLL right now that you look at and you're like, that does not, that body type surprises me, but they
You
do
want
it.
to know what
And
the crazy thing is there's so many guys out there that didn't even try out just because of work issues. Many talented players that you want to what I can't do it. It just doesn't fit the slate, which is cool once again, because without this league, these guys aren't even playing right now. These guys are balling out after balling out all summer for whatever division league, whatever, and playing in their Can-Ams or NABLL or
well,
whatever, and then doing some tournaments and
that's what I
all of
mean
a
though. The
sudden,
the PBLA running this in the winter in a lot of towns that have hockey teams and running it
yeah,
in there, that is an amazing, like, ability to do, and that's got to be expensive. But to be able to schedule all that and go through all that, because you're giving, like you said, there's a lot of guys that get to play summer ball when there's no ice down. There's not a lot
Right.
of guys that get to play in the winter on turf. There
Right.
really
Right.
there's some, I mean, there's more and it's growing. The Nexus Center happens to leave turf down for us, but there's not a lot of guys that have that ability. And now to get paid to do it, and then you can still train and play your summer ball. And the other nice thing is, so with this league, some of the guys, they are all lacrosse. Like they work for lacrosse companies, they're lacrosse coaches, they coach clinics. Like, I mean, Ty Hill started his own lacrosse company, and I've got his little shout out. I always try to shout out Ty whenever because you want
Okay.
to talk about a humble guy. Wow, and so is like all the guys in lacrosse. They're just so humble. Like they never tell you how good they are. Like talking to Marshall Powless, I knew he was a great player from watching him, but then you start looking through his history and see what he accomplished. You know, yeah, you don't even get it from talking to him. Even when you're asking him, like, "Hey, tell me about what happened," he's like, "Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
my brother
In that
played. My
feed.
brother was great," and I was like, "Yeah, and his brother, Johnny Powless, is down in Elmira,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well,
like
and
he looked up
it's
to
not
him.
it's cool for me when I sent you some of that feed when I was walking through the hallways down there. No disrespect to the guy. I'm new to this sport. I had no clue who he was. And he's sitting there like, he doesn't even know who I am, the dummy.
It's just they're cool, and to talk to these guys, and like I know at least for the most part now, I either know or have talked to somebody who's on every one of these teams, and it's been a pretty cool experience. And to hear some of the different things that they're doing in the camps, like how different some of these camps are run from one team to another. And then you wonder like how many guys were really focusing on athletes and how many guys are focusing more on lacrosse players, because I tell you, you need to be in shape to survive this season. This is a very fast, very high impact season, and the only way to usually not sustain injuries is to be in incredible shape, to
Yeah.
make sure those little muscles. And I think that's where you're really going to see further down. You see a lot of these teams having these like super athletes and having the sports and fitness thing with the league. What an option for these guys for now. I don't know if they're giving them workout plans or what they're doing, and I know they,
I'm sure they are. I'm
but
sure they are. Once they sign that contract, I'm sure the ice tubs are going to be filled. That's for sure. You know, the stretching. Lloyd was talking about it. I know Ty talks about it. As far as whether you get into the yoga, as you're getting older, you got to get those ligaments stretched out, and because the run they're enduring, I wonder how many miles they're putting on during one game. It's one thing when you're playing offense, defense, but these guys are trucking, man. That's cool stuff.
yeah.
It was
Well,
energetic.
what
I can't tell you, energetic was just wow,
yeah,
wow,
I'm
wow.
I'm really hoping that even if we don't get all these games streamed to us immediately, that they at least have a plan to make sure they're recorded, because what a travesty that would be to not
Ooh.
catch that stuff
Yeah,
on film. I mean, the stuff you're seeing some of these young guys do is just like I didn't know it was they were defying gravity out there, some of those guys. Like
they
it
were.
what it seems like they're in the air forever, and like they're doing 1,000 things with the stick, and it's like what? Without slow motion? Good luck trying to see that.
Even the goalie play. The goalie play was,
That's
you
what I mean.
know,
Yeah, to be able to stop that. And the goalies had to be, they were all involved in the
they
play.
were
They're
all
getting
over
out there.
it was cool to see. I mean, everybody likes to see the shootout concept. There was multiple times where you got caught bad on the bench, and all of a sudden it's 3-0, and it's like, oh,
And
oh, and all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden the goalie goes stupid and makes 6 saves in a row where you're like, holy, and then of course the dunker comes in at the end because there's so many shots that are going, and it,
you
it,
can't,
it was it was it was pretty cool to watch.
yeah,
Pretty cool to watch. I'm hoping that the youth get into it because it's more than just offense. It's more than just defense. To be able to play a true up and down field lacrosse, the fastest game on 2 feet. It clearly is that, no question.
well,
No question. They got to put that brand on there somewhere. That's for sure.
and like what happened with Laxney with some of those teams too, and you see it even more so here, like way more so here, where the windows that these guys are making passes through, and how these guys catch some of these passes. I mean, they are flying. I don't
Oh,
even know how they see it, yet alone
yeah,
see
yeah,
it and catch the pass and then do something crazy afterwards, and you're like, what? Yeah, the windows that these get, the amount of stick skill, and yeah, we should expect it at this level because you're professional. And I tell you, they did not disappoint. I think if you haven't bought your season tickets yet for that price and you get a jersey, you got to be out of your mind not to go buy
that's
a
pretty
season
cool.
ticket to one of these.
Yeah,
If I lived within 2 hours, I would
yeah,
probably be buying a season ticket. I could definitely an hour and a half. I'm definitely driving. It's a little too far. 3 hours for season tickets when I already have my Firewall season tickets. It's like
it's good.
I am
Hey,
definitely
Mike
gonna make it
Falvo,
to a.
shout out to Mike Falvo. I can't enjoy. I told him today. He asked if we were coming down. I said I at that point in time I wasn't because I'm going to be in Buffalo unless things change, and I don't know if they're going to change. But if they do, I won't be in Buffalo. But as far as
Ooh, we could maybe hit up a Firewolves game and then make it out Sunday for the round robin if they do it Sunday. I don't know if they're doing it Saturday or Sunday though.
not that I've never done something silly like that before in my life, but it definitely could happen.
It's only 40
But
minutes
once
back.
again, shout out to Mike. Mike's an incredible announcer, and I love listening to that cat. He knows how to work the mic, work the fans. He's good. He's
Yeah.
good.
Mike Falvo, I think, is going to be my first non-lacrosse player that I'm going to have on the podcast. I love talking to that
And
guy.
a
He's
shout out
awesome.
to his service to his country. I love the guys.
He's one of those guys, like the more you find out about him, because we were kind of talking about maybe doing a couple of different things that I don't know if is going to pan through or not yet. We actually we've got a couple of perspectives on the spring. We'll see what happens with Blue Squatch Productions here, but huge shout out, like you said, to Mike Falvo. He's been awesome. He treats
Yeah,
me so Yeah, he treats me so good. Uh,
that's what the pros. That's what pros do. They help them out.
yeah. Oh, we got Thousand Island Spirits shouting out NLL action has been super good this far. It has been. And how about some of that play? I mean, wow,
Hey,
just
can I
the
tell you? Hey,
comeback.
I got an announcement. I have an announcement. Guess what I have?
I don't know.
ESPN Plus.
You got it.
Oh, I'm gonna be watching this stuff.
That's right. You'll have to join me and
I'll
Rodney.
be on with you and Hot Rod. I'll listen. I'll just tweet in. I'll just tweet in. I'm a tweeter.
I was gonna actually have to ask him to reschedule it, but now because of the weather, I think I'm gonna be home. So as long as I don't lose power, we might be back on Friday. Now that you got ESPN Plus, catch yourself up on the games. I won't tell you what happened if you haven't seen it, but wow,
I've seen a couple. I've seen a couple highlights and everything like that. It's been pretty great.
yeah,
You
that
know,
yeah.
Albany doing what Albany does. Rochester is impressive, taking down the Rock.
How about Connor
Woo!
Fields playing with a chip on his shoulder? He is all over it.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
it's the what really I love too, especially being a Firewolves guy, was that to watch the Firewolves young offense because they made a bunch of off-season moves, and you had a lot of people who were just really like, "What are you doing?" I won't say his name because he'll be upset with me, but somebody I know was talking about they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be terrible. I can't believe you bought season tickets. They got rid of all these guys and everything," and I was like. This is not their first year being a professional lacrosse team. I'm not worried about what they're doing. If they're fine, it's gonna be fine.
yeah,
And then they
yeah.
go out there and play that Buffalo game. He had to yeah, he was like, okay, you're
Eat
right.
it, eat it, eat it. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, I'm that guy. Yeah, I'm gonna make you know.
Which is why I hope they get these games streamed because I mean that action has been amazing, and I think what you're really going to see in this league not having the specialists is so many more opportunities, and it's going to be up to the goalies if we have 20 goal games or not. Because I don't care how good your defense are, if you can't run and keep that pace, and just the sheer nature of the way they're doing the change, you're gonna get caught out there for a 90-second shift. And anybody who's ever played on that floor ice skates, running, anything, or any sport like that where you're really sprinting for 90 seconds, like really getting after it. 90 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff, and that's it's going to be interesting to see how the teams are formed. How they're made up. And with the NLL, the way they're made up, are they going to lose some more players? Guys saying, "I'm going to go play PBLA. I need a paycheck,"
Not
because
just
those guys ain't getting paid unless they dress. And if you're not dressing, then I can go down here and play. And I,
Well, plus two though, you're going to have a lot of guys that are just young into the league and haven't had a chance to be showcased just due to lack of time. I mean, that's one thing with those sports. You got to have results immediately, or else boom. And you're going to get a lot of these young guys with a chip on their shoulder that I should be there. And I tell you, I think everybody is going to be so surprised. I think that talent that's been hidden in upstate New York and then pockets of Virginia's got a lot of talent. Like watching that Golden Bears team, and then how about that Westminster team out in the in the NABLL finals? Do you want to talk about a team that's
which
pretty?
one?
They were built similar to what these PBLA teams are with that speed they had out there. You had Joel Tinney, coming out of the door, but the way they would have to use their speed differently. I would just be really interested to see like if they can carry that speed with that door change and having to pay attention to. Yeah,
That's the cool thing about building a program. Some of these teams are, there's a great program. That GM right there, I wish, and I apologize to everybody. I'm just not that.
yeah, we don't.
I don't have the time. I don't have the time. And no disrespect. God bless every. I don't have the interest because it pisses me off to get on this technology stuff and do what
As
I
we're
wish I could.
as we're
But
sitting here streaming a
what
show.
they do, what they do is a great job of putting together some awesome Midwest, Southern Midwest. That's a bunch of young guys that have bought into box lacrosse because they haven't. It's true. How much the box game compared to the field game. Again, I love the field game, but the box game, you're allowed to express your
It's
talents in so many different ways. How
it's the
many times you
most.
sit there and listen to a coach sit there and, oh, you threw it behind the back? Well, you want to know what? You're allowing these kids to be the athletes and the talent that they are in the box because that's part of throwing these passes. A one-handed snake, talking to Ty Hill, listening to Ty Hill, how he does a one-handed jam, the Indian grab at one-handed, but it leads to a pass because
Well,
that's just the way his talent
how
allows.
about just the way he looks at lacrosse and pays attention to the details as he's explaining to me how he changed the string of his stick because he feels it gives him an advantage scooping
Yeah,
it. And
scoop
it's
it.
not something I ever even considered when it came to stringing my stick because I didn't think it mattered that much. I was just driving through the
Yeah,
ground but to listen to him explain it, wow, what a knowledge of lacrosse. I tell you, Ty Hill, and I tell you another team you got to really watch out for is I've been talking when I talked to Joe French there and his brother Ben. I got to learn that they played in the MSL, so they are up in that big boy Canadian league all summer playing
yeah,
with I tell you that team I think is going to surprise a lot of people. And it's not just those guys. We had a chance to talk and we cut some things out here and there. But there's going to be a lot of surprises. I think people that are sleeping on these southern teams thinking that, oh, I'm located here. I know we've had this local talent that's been hidden forever. And as soon as we showcase it, which is probably going to be true. I mean, plus it is sweet to get to see the young guys, especially. That's what I'm most excited for in this league is, yeah, you get to see some of these guys that really get to teach some of these guys, the younger kids. So you're going to take a very nice mix. I think the teams that are built the best. It's just my opinion, which means nothing, I know. But if you have a good mix of having that veteran leadership that can make sure these guys understand, but you've also got some of these kids that have been playing box since they were 3, 4 years old.
yeah.
They already have that understanding, and if you have that good mix with the athleticism, and then the guys that are teaching these kids to be professionals and how to conduct themselves and what to do and all that stuff, I think the beginning of the season is going to be interesting, but I can't wait to see how these rosters play out. Just because a couple of the teams too, when you look at them and it's like, oh, okay, so you're building it with this kind of style, and then talking to a couple of these guys in the camps that are just talking about what they're doing and how they've done their camp, like so what they're assuming, but by now they've all figured out what the coach is expecting out of the team. It's impressive because a lot of these guys have worked together before. As you're seeing a lot of these mixes where you're taking guys from this league, this team. I mean, look at the PBLA. You got the Chowderheads. You've got a bunch of guys that play on that Bats team. Well, I say a bunch, but I know at least 2 or 3 that are playing on the Bats team that now play on the Chowderheads. So you've already got 2 guys that are out there at camp, whether or not they make the team, we'll get to see. And then you've got a couple of guys that played together in the NABLL. For every NABLL, or for each one of these teams, you've got at least 1 or 2 guys that I've seen from one of the NABLL teams. One of my favorite parts is actually watching the players walk in carrying a Yeti bag. And like that's how I got to meet Casey Swamp, was because I saw the Yeti bag, and not being around the first year, I just kind of saw it, and then I was like, "Who's that guy over there?" And then you were like, "Oh, come on, I'll introduce you." Yeah, he's a monster.
Oh, oh, he has a race team as well. He races cars. He has his own, he's got his own fitness facility up in Akwesasne. He has a car business dealership, gas station, fixes cars, races cars, plays lacrosse.
He's a go-getter, huh? He is getting
oh,
after it.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Shout out Casey up there and the boys. They love their lacrosse, and Dwighty Burrow. To see those guys playing together, I tell you what, that's all I can say. It's
Yeah.
going to be pretty freaking cool. It's going to be pretty cool to that's that.
I
I
tell you,
can't wait to watch these guys play.
I tell you,
That's
getting to meet some of these guys on some of these teams, and just I'm terrible with names as well, but watching these guys with, so I don't really see them because they always have their helmets on when I'm watching them for the most part. So I'm not always sure who did what, but there's some of the guys when you see them take their helmet off on the field, and I'm trying to pick out, you have got some unbelievable goal score, like the stick skills.
I got Palisac with a Yeti jersey on.
Back square Yeti jersey on at that. Yeah, I mean,
Back
how about
square
that?
Yeti jersey
You
at
have
that.
Yeah, you have all these pros. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So
I
that'll be the
thought
other
so.
thing. We'll get some highlight footage out maybe of some back square jerseys one of these days. The PBLA guys. Huge shout out to Back Square for buying the blackout jerseys.
They're awesome. As far as quality jerseys, Berkman did. As far as Ryan does a great job with his stuff. As
It
far
is
as
it is blackout night in Albany, I think, for the first game. So if you do end up
really?
coming and we end up going from my house out to Elmira somehow, you could wear that Back Square jersey and it would look mighty fine.
So I go to only game I've been to the Comets so far. I don't know, it was probably 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wear my black shirt. I get there. Don't you know the team that we're playing is the Boston Bruins?
The black and
I'm like, oh, I didn't plan that.
All right, we're almost at an hour. I'm going to shout out all the sponsors because I can see them. So we've got Rome Sign. Thank you, Rome Sign. Robert Dix Insurance. Nice Goba. The Men in Blue. Thank you. Clinton Tractor. Crafty Beach Design. Hit up her Instagram. Mark Murphy Photography. Amazing shots for Mark, all kinds of leagues. Mark covers a lot of stuff. 4x Hill Lacrosse, Ty Hill, thank you. And the Black River Ale House up in Rome, thank you. Bag Square, both of those places, awesome after parties, after games. The Be Dry System, you got water in the basement? Call them. Believe 271, no one fights alone. CBI Cables, huge thank you to CBI Cables. Deming, Lakeside Trailer Park, thank you, Deming. And Eric Kiefer, friend of the Yeti. Family Landscaping, huge shout out to Family Landscaping. Fay Farms. Fay Farms might be making an appearance one of these teams. GKS Sales and Service. And the NABLL, we always like to shout them out, but Nora's Candy Shop. Get your turkey joints for Christmas. Tri-City Lacrosse. T-Gray Tools, huge shout out. Thank you very much, T-Gray Tools, Rome Signs, and all of the sponsors. As usual.
Dry Systems. Love my B-Dry. Love you, Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you very much to all the sponsors. And this will be us saying good night and thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next week. There's going to be some. Well, you're throwing the horns up. There's quite a few main.
Maine's got some squat, that's for sure. Maine's got some squat in my books.
We got Duncan. I got to get talking to Duncan again here pretty soon. I see they've got quite a few guys on teams out and about. That Box Maine team had a lot of talent. right.
Is
O'Gorman,
Great.
yes, and I got to talk to O'Gorman. Oh my goodness, yes,
Yes.
there is so much
I
talent.
listened to that. Check out all these podcasts, people. It's awesome stuff.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.